Welcome back. I would say this is the first episode of this that I have done in an awful long time. But I had a man in my sights who I thought, this is the guy to get me out of retirement. This is the guy who can bring me back. And it was the one and only Basil Breen.
Bringing Daniel back from the dead, it seems.
Yeah, that was it.
Jesus.
You were the guy watching your Instagram and your YouTube videos and Spotify. And I thought to myself, because I was looking around, I was looking for people to speak to, you know, chomping at the bit, basically. And I thought, perfect. If he'd do it, we're on. But you know what? Instead of me doing it, why don't you introduce yourself to the people? Why don't you tell them who it is?
You obviously don't know enough to introduce me
No,
then, do
no,
you?
they
No,
don't,
only
they
joking.
don't.
I'm only joking. Yeah, so I suppose the people in the area would know me as TK. My family and school teachers would know me as Dunica. But now we are rebranding for the musical side as Basil Breen. Basil is the middle name and the name of my granddad, so you know I'm not just pulling it out of nowhere, all right? And I'm pursuing music and a few other things, including web development, pretty heavy. That's kind of my main focus at the moment, just because I have projects that haven't got finished yet. So I'm kind of, the music hasn't taken the front seat yet, you know what I mean?
Right.
But there is an ambition to make the switch down the line, but I don't know when that'll be, you know what I mean? So until then, I'm just kind of chipping away at the music in whatever capacity I can, and then, you know, seeing where the other stuff leads, because there's projects, they've been ongoing, and you know, you just want to get them done. But you can do loads of different things, but you do have to sacrifice.
Is a software development? Is that what you do?
You could say just general programming, I'd say. Right now I have an app idea that we're building, Intercast. You'll probably hear more about it soon. And then I'm doing a bit of contracting. So I have a company with my friend who I was recently visiting in London, Chuck. He gave me my first job actually when I was in London.
Right.
So primarily that's what brings in the money, you know, so I could buy all these somewhat useless gadgets. They come in handy, you know, but I've loads of stuff that is just I need to buy this, I need to buy that. They come in handy for a little bit, and then it's sometimes you're better off keeping it simple in a way, you know what I mean? But yeah, primarily that's what I've done since I picked up the guitar at 23 or something.
Now, that is what surprised me. And I said this to you before, obviously we spoke a couple of weeks back. That's what surprised me, is that seemingly out of nowhere, I was seeing videos of you just hawking gear around town and busking all over the place. And I went, hang on a second, when did this happen? Now, because I remember being told about you before, singing one song, which was Rocket Man, in some place in Swords.
Some karaoke.
Karaoke. And I heard, I mean, you were probably still a teenager. Surely you were still a teenager at that stage. And I remember hearing how good your version of that was, right? Obviously just naturally gifted, just really slow and getting to the punch. But that was the first time I'd ever heard about you singing. And then years later, you're dragging stuff through town, right? And you're busking. But the thing that stood out for me was you're not standing there singing any old songs. It's like this observation music, right?
Yeah.
You're playing guitar and people are walking by and you're literally singing what you're seeing. How did that come around? Because you do it really well, but how do you find out that's my thing, or how do you start it?
It was so strange how that particular style of performance came about, because obviously I didn't know that was even a thing you could do. But when I was in Cardiff, I was still pursuing music and playing the guitar, and I had dreams of busking. I had dreams of doing an open mic. This is before anyone even knew I was doing anything. I couldn't even sing in front of my girlfriend. I was so shy. I was so scared. Like she had to sit me down and be like, I want to hear one of your songs. I mean, I was always talking about it, and I was and then I was able to do it, and then like she actually trained me. She showed me that you could sing and you didn't have to be embarrassed about it. Like she always sang from our soul in a way. Like it was always as deep as or as good as she could sing. You know what I mean? Whereas people might mumble to a song, whatever, but she always went straight to it. And
was that her thing? Was she a singer? Was
no, not like she was just her family. Because I went on a road trip after this, like in New Zealand. I remember we were all just singing in the car, like the family. So it was obviously a part of her growing up. But so I had a real aversion to singing, and I don't know what it is. I think it wasn't a cool thing to do when you were in school. I wasn't a choir, but then it just kind of slowly, you know, when I started analysing the hierarchies that I was going into, it's like, oh, maybe it's not cool to stay in the choir. Maybe it's cooler to just have a laugh and mess. Maybe, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? But I definitely felt an aversion to singing, and it's also, there's a lot to that, because I think if you sing as good as you can, there's a sense like, oh, what do you look at this show off thinking he's great, thinking he can sing. And that's why I think people say, I can't sing. That's their default position. You know what I mean? Because they don't want to put themselves up to that. Like, yeah, exactly. It's like, I can't sing. And then you're not enjoying singing, like, because talking is singing. When you say a word, you can match that, like, that's somewhere on a piano. So talking is singing. Talking, like, was the precursor to singing. But anyway, so I was in Cardiff pursuing it, and then I was like, I'm going to do an open mic, and did my first open mic, which was very, very scary, but you know, just got through that. Then after that, I was like, I'm going to take this in my own hands with the busking, and so I started busking when I was in Cardiff, and I don't know what, there was this little tunnel down in Cardiff, right, and I'd bought a speaker, I'd bought everything, but I woke up one morning, and like, funnily enough, like, I don't know how if I should detail this, but I will anyway. You can put it in or not. So I'd actually I got some MDMA off the dark web, right? And the next
is staying, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I was testing it out, and because I've had great experience with that before in my youth, but I never treated it with kind of the respect that it should have been treated with. Like, I always had it with alcohol and stuff, and my girlfriend at the time had never experienced what it was like to MDMA, because it's very, like, I'm not telling people what to do here, by the way, but I've had experiences. It completely changed who I was as a person, and it, like, kind of opened me up, and I never closed again. It basically showed me unconditional love for everything. It kind of opens your heart, and when I was like, we could have this experience together. So, you know, there was a kind of sentiment behind it, but I had to test it. And so when it first came to the gaff, like, we were going to the cinema, and I hadn't done it in ages, and I took a bit, and then, you know, I should have dosed it a bit better, but I took too much. But I was grand, you know what I mean? But I was in the cinema on MDMA, and then the next day, kind of like, you know, not feeling that great, but my heart was still very much open from that experience, and I was just like, I'm just gonna go down to the tunnel, and I'm just gonna, like, I was wearing tracksuit bottoms, I wasn't even thinking, I just brought my guitar, I didn't really care, and I went down to that tunnel, and I just started singing, right? But then I was like, I don't have to even sing my songs, I can just, how are you doing? It's a beautiful day in Cardiff, and this echo in the tunnel was just so beautiful. And
that's exactly what I was thinking.
Exactly,
just right there is just
so
saying.
It was just this, like, and people were walking through, and they were, you know what I mean, some of them was trying to not look at me, and I'm just like, blah 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 blah, and then some people, a group of young lads came by, right, and I'm trying to work them into the rhyme. And when they're near the end of the tunnel, they just look back and go, at least I'm not homeless. Because they obviously thought I was homeless. You know what I mean? And because I looked rough. I was, you know what I mean? I wasn't in the great condition. But my heart was so open to anything, and I didn't have any fear. And once I realised that, wow, this is a totally different thing. You don't have to just do your songs and sit there. It's about truly trying to live in the moment, in a way, as in bringing people something in the moment that that's never been before, because like, you know what I mean, you can do the song and you can do the song again, you can do that every time, but if you try to make something like in that moment, it really only exists there in that form, in a way, you know what I mean? It's a kind of raw experience, and you can bring people joy, and I think that's a fundamental aspect of what I'm trying to achieve. When I looked at what I wanted to do, and I was able to kind of whittle it down into like an affirmation, like one of the affirmations that I hope to live by is that I bring joy in everything that I do. And that is like, it's like the most direct way to bring joy is to like get in front of people. And like, you know, it's not everyone's cup of tea as well.
That's what I was about to say to you.
Yeah.
Is your way of doing it is so off the cuff that it can't always be plain sailing. And by the way, can I just say, throughout the course of this conversation, that is not the direction that I expected it to turn out. At no point did I thought of all the areas I thought you might go, MDMA to try it, well, where I got it off the dark was not one of them.
Well,
but like it's one of those really enviable things that you do. Like it's really seriously enviable when you talk about people who can't even sing to a loved one who they know. And you can get up in front of the public. And that video that I had seen of you busking up there by the harbour, and some 5-year-old boy comes over, and you end up laughing and joking with him, throwing yourself on the ground, looking like a lunatic, to be fair, for 5 minutes. And I thought to myself, that is like an exceptional level of freedom to be able to do that, and enjoyment, but freedom. When you're doing it, is there ever a time where people are going by and you can just feel this, as good as it is for me to do this, it's not going over well with them?
There's like, you know what I mean? You're not gonna be everyone's cup of tea, but you could tell. Usually, so at the start, right, when I started doing this, I was forcing it a lot. You know what I mean? Instead of waiting for things to happen and reacting to them, like when people gave me money. You know, there was one time I was in town, and this is the big lesson that I got. I was just trying to talk, and I didn't really have a plan. You know what I mean? I was just filling the streets with this noise, and you know, some girl. There's a good video of it, right? But some girl, she was enjoying it, and she came up. She gave me a $5, right? Which is like back then was like. I mean, anytime someone gives you a $5,
I was just about to say, before I made it.
Yeah. But then like a few minutes later, one of the lads came down. From he's obviously working the stalls in Dublin, and gives me an absolute earful. He was just like, he was like, "You're the worst thing in 40 years that I've heard in the streets." And he has the credentials to back it up. He's probably been working, like, it was the ultimate. He was just sick of me ranting and raving. And he's like, "You're too like blah blah blah." And I lost the plot because you know what I mean. I was just like, I'm trying to do something, you know, blah blah blah. But it made me reevaluate then, because I seen like, you know what I mean, you have to kind of, you know, analyze like why that might have happened, and is there a better way? And I think the better way is to not just stand there and rant and hopefully hit gold every now and again. Now there are street comedians that are really good, but there's certain like templates that they use that they know kind of elicit a response, whereas I was just searching for them and trying to make it happen when. And some people, look, what I mean is, long story short, right, is that, trying to be a bit more spontaneous to what is happening, and therefore you always at least have an audience of one who is interested in what it is, because you're looking at them, you're reacting, hello, blue, I'm blue, like, and then you end up rhyming the same things over and over because it's hard. But the point is I haven't really got that feeling of like I'm grating on someone in a while. I think the people I kind of grate on more are people like myself who are loudmouth kind of show-offy people, because there's been scenarios, I don't know, it's hard to me to explain, but some people, I enjoy when there's someone doing the monkey dance, right? That I do the monkey dance, right? And then someone else does it. I can enjoy when they do it. But some people, they don't enjoy when they can't share being the monkey boy or whatever, you know what I mean? They don't, because that was their identity, that was what they relied on. And I've been in scenarios where I feel like I've grated on people because they couldn't share like the spotlight or the show off spotlight or whatever, you know what I mean? But when I'm performing, usually now, you know, it's about having that, at least that audience of one to kind of go off and be like, all right, at least they're hopefully enjoying it, and then just you kind of just know when it's over. You know?
Enjoy your day, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And come here. Do you put that down to your chronic drug use, or do you just put that, no, no joke. Do you put that down, that want for connection with people? Do you put that down to experiences that you've had at an adult, or was it even before that? But it was only you got to a certain age and certain things happened where you went, finally I can do it now.
Yeah, I think like as throughout school and, you know, and throughout my life in social situations, like trying to be being the funny person was how I was validated in my tribe or my group. You know what I mean? So when I seen that was working, I lent into that more. So, you know, a lot of my personality, I think, is built around trying to make people laugh. You know, if we were in a tribe, you know, there's someone who goes get the fish for the tribe, like, and then they bring value that way. And then the way my brain was seeing it, the way I see it looking back, obviously I'm not a psychoanalyst or whatever, but definitely trying to make people laugh I love having a laugh, you know what I mean? And I love actually like there's you know what I mean, in Moorview, like growing up here, it's a great little spot because there's a closeness and there's a kind of there's ability to take the piss out of someone, even though you have to know your limits with people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I find that so important to be able to do that, but carry on. Sorry,
but you have to be you have to know you're in a safe place to do it. Like if imagine you just start abusing me about something that was like really kind of close to my chest, but you didn't know, right? But straight off the bat, you went for that. You know what I mean? It was like I had some visual thing or whatever, right? And it was like something I was, you know what I mean? And you went straight for that. But when you kind of get close to somebody and then you find the boundaries of where the boundaries are, you slowly kind of build up to like where's a safe place, because it's about having a good time as well. But I think I realized only recently enough that laughter is like the transcendence of whatever that thing is. So let's say if you can laugh even in the face of you know, deep failure, and let's say you were going for something and it didn't work out, or loss. Now you can't laugh straight away, but the moment you can laugh is the moment you transcend it. So laughter, it's the ability to transcend the pain that we suffer as humans. You know what I mean?
I'll give you two actually that immediately jump to mind, right? Just related into that, and it kind of seems like a real hammy way to do it, but it's the first thing I think of. It was that when my father died, 13 years old, we're in the church, and I'm sort of, you know, we're kneeling, and I'm next to my uncle, right? And there he is lying there, and two of us are absolutely crying our eyes out. But then, in the act of doing this woman gets up onto the stage here and starts singing, doing all of that, and I mean, the more the music played, the more you cried, right? And my uncle, in this moment, rubbing the snot out of his nose, just turns to me and goes, "For fuck's sake, would they ever put on some fucking Eminem or something?" He says to me, right? And I never forgot that, and it was in that sort of upsetting situation to be able to do that. And then a couple of weeks ago,
just let her out,
a couple of weeks ago, extra family member in the Breen household. Couple of weeks ago then was my granddad's funeral, and I go down to Limerick. I haven't seen a lot of this side of the family now in a few years, but one of them I hadn't seen in maybe 5 or 6, my cousin. So I turn up late. We're at the wake, and I turn up late, and I'm sort of skipping by everybody. All the family are standing there, the fellas standing in their suits by the coffin, and I was like, how are you? And I went over. There's my cousin Simon, hadn't seen him in years, and we're chatting. And this is it's a very mad situation because everyone's very deeply upset, but you're kind of looking for the way to get out of it a little bit. You're trying to lighten the mood a bit because you can feel the weight of it in the room. And oddly enough, my nana had died 3 weeks or so, a month and a half before that. So I was talking to Simon about her, just whispering, and he goes, "Oh yeah, sorry man." He says, "I'm really bad for text," and he says, "I meant to send my condolences." And I went, "Yeah, no, I was really fucking ignorant of you," I said to him, "really fucking ignorant." And he just looked up at me, and I was looking at him, and I sort of had a little half a smile, and he goes, "You're just my sense of humour," he says to me, right? And that broke it, like it broke it a little bit. But we spoke later on in the night, and the conversation was about, this has been in our family a long time, like, these sort of upsetting situations, as they are for everybody. But that was our way of dealing with it, was you have a bit of crack and you have a bit of a laugh at it. You don't sort of just get drowned by it. You sort of come out of it a little bit. And I would say that for me, if I have any sort of sense of humour in these real bad situations, I'd say it comes from, being able to have the crack with the family and stuff, but it is important. I know what you mean when you say you have to be able to laugh. It is important to get outside of it a little bit. Yeah,
like it can be hard, obviously, in the moments that are like immediately after the thing. If when you lose somebody, let's say if you lost someone in a funny way, right? For example, someone. Now I don't know if this is funny, and I'm sorry if people. But imagine, right? If I was really anti-vax, right, and then so I got the vaccine and I died from the vaccine or something, right? Or no, I died from COVID because I didn't get the vaccine.
Right.
Like, there's a part of me that would like think it'd be funny to put on my gravestone, like, should have got the vaccine or something. You know what I mean? But like my family having to do that in the immediate aftermath of me dying, like, would be horrific for them to do because they can't, like, you know what I mean. But then in the coming years, you know what I mean, as you move away from the like epicenter of that pain, then it becomes funnier. Then it's like, you know what I mean, he should have got that. You know what I mean? Then
but until you get to a point, until you get to a point, what I mean by that is, at a certain age, I probably would have felt, and probably a lot of people now, I'm not just speaking for me, but a lot of people would have been at a certain age where the moment was so overwhelming and negative emotion was so overwhelming that you couldn't laugh until far later on. Until you come to a point in life where you sort of realise things happen.
Yeah.
Then you don't, if you can stay there, there's the family member coming back in.
Yeah.
4-legged family member. And there's another 2-legged family member.
Jesus, we're interrupting. The man, like... we're in the middle of it now.
It's recording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to do with Shiva, like. Alright, great.
It's a foot.
Hold on.
We're actually recording in a brothel.
Yeah.
It's
things are getting crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry, Daniel.
But you get to a point then when you sort of learn things happening a little bit more. That you don't need to wait until you're far past it. And I'm not even talking about logically or you just sort of feel like, no, do you know what? Things happen. I can laugh a little bit more as it does. But anyway, going from the busking, where you're out there saying what you see, basically, right? How do you then go from that to, do you know what? I actually wouldn't mind writing down some songs. I actually wouldn't mind putting something out there.
Well, I've actually been writing songs as long as I've been playing guitar. Like I've been writing a lot of music. Like I've always written music with the guitar. You know what I mean? That was like a vehicle for the music, basically. And so I've had loads of. The only reason I was out on the streets really, before I started doing my performance albums, whatever, is to try and get my music out there into the world. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'd always been writing songs, and then that was part of it. Part of me was like, I'm writing all these songs, and I need to get them out into the world before it's too late, you know. before like the COVID gets me or whatever, like the metaphor, the bus, whatever's gonna get me. I need to be getting these songs out. So the thing with the thing that's good about the rhyming and the improv stuff, you build a kind of intuition for words and sounds and syllables. So there's so many layers to songwriting itself. Like when you first begin, you're just thinking about rhyming words, right? Like in a simple way. But then the next step, I think, is understanding when a sentence sounds too full. So it has you can get an intuition for how many syllables. It's like, there's just an extra syllable here. So it's like, that's what we need to work on in this sentence. That's why it sounds clunky. And then the next step, I think, is certain words don't follow each other well. I wish I had a good example here, but like, let's say I say moment, like that T sound, right? And then I say moment zebra, right? Zebra is like a new sound. The Z in my mouth, the T, Z. So if I went today, if I went to the, like your mouth, I can't really explain it. If there was a video now, you could see my mouth moving. But the transitions of your mouth to different words give a sense of flow that once you start building an intuition for that, then your songs can really
helps
start
with
flowing.
your cadence.
Yeah, cadence.
It's the cadence.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
All
yeah,
that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all kind of part of the same thing. But sorry. But yeah, so the performative element and trying to learn rhyming words. I was making lists of all the words that rhymed with boy, all the words that rhyme with girl, because they be hello little boy, hello little girl. They'd be common, like money, honey, funny, runny, like all that stuff.
I wondered if you did that actually, because it's like Eminem reading the dictionary. That's what he did to learn. He read the dictionary, and I was sitting thinking, I was like, what does he do to help him in that moment that he needs to rhyme a word with another word? You ever watch Harry Mack?
Yeah. Oh, he's so
He's
good.
good, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's
on a different word.
He is. Yeah. You're not that far.
No. But his practice regimen, though. Have you seen
No, I haven't. I've only seen sort of the execution. That's it. I've never seen. But I would have to imagine that it's not just as simple for him as I read the dictionary and now I know the words. It's like the speed of thought that you have to have.
Yeah,
to do that.
His methodology to train and everything, he does videos on it, like a few of them. So he wants to show people that, like, it's true practice and hard work that you get to these stages. So one thing that I picked up, but I haven't implemented my training for, instead of saying, let's say you give me a word like table, right? Instead of going, oh, that table isn't able, right? So I'm doing the table at the first and then able at the second. But if I said, I'm not able to break that table, if I end with the word that you gave me, you go, oh, more. Because the punchline usually comes at the end. So if you look at his rhyming scheme, if you give him a word, he'll try he won't say it straight away. That's the easy way. The easy way is to say it and then rhyme with something after it. But he rhymes with he thinks of a word that rhymes before he says it. If that even makes sense, you know what I mean? Yeah, he's something else.
But have you seen the videos? I think he's on Omegle or something. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
And he's flicking through just randomly, and someone will stop and he'll go, you mind if I freestyle something for you? And they go, yeah. No idea what they're getting into here, but they're like, yeah. And he'll go, I just want you to give me 3 words. I want you to pick 3 words that are just wildly different. And he'll put in a word like Tyrannosaurus, and he'll just do basically a whole verse before he gets to that second word that they're given. And I'm going, how the hell do you do that? Like, that is something else entirely. But anyway, for you, what was yours? It was rhyming all the words with boy, all the words with girl.
When I first started realizing that this is an element that people are warming up to, I was like, now, like, I made the list. I wasn't that regimented in learning them. A few times on the train into town, I'd read them, but it's like real boring. But even collecting them was a good starting place. You know what I mean? Because you can find yourself. The problem was that I was finding myself going back into the same words, and because I was recording the busking, I'd hear myself doing the same thing, and I'm not. I'm trying. I usually am like good enough to, I won't use the same word in the same day at least. You know what I mean? Or I won't. I'll try to think of something. A good thing to do is just look at their clothes, look at something unique about them. Like color is all right as well, but it depends. If you just end with boy or end with girl or end with money, it's like I've done all the rhymes with them, so it's hard. You really need to be. But there's a sense. So you're saying about freedom, like everyone can freestyle. I think everyone knows enough words to be able to do it. But the real place you need to get to is you have to have no fear in what you're gonna say. So see, when I was going down onto the ground with that little boy, like I was in a place of no fear. Like I was able to not care about what was going to happen. I knew this was working for him and it was working for me. So I was in a pure flow state in that sense. But if I get too in my own head, like I'm thinking too much and I'm criticizing myself. I'm like, it need to be better, and I know what it's like to be in a bad place with it. So the real place you need to get to be able to freestyle or perform in improv is to just get out of your own way and just let it happen and don't care. But you have to be careful as well because I curse a lot and in everyday life with friends and family. But on the streets, like I don't curse. You know what I mean? Like I'm very aware. Like in a podcast, I'm hopefully reducing the amount of times I'm cursing. I'm saying probably a lot less.
I'd seen you speak about that.
Yeah,
need to do that recently.
We all have these like kind of verbal tics, but in different contexts. Like in an interview, if you're in a job interview, there's a different context of your personality on display. You know what I mean? There's a certain frame that you're trying to turn up versus the other ones. You're going to try and turn them down a bit just because the context. And it's the same with but you're very aware, like there's children around and you don't really want to be, you kind of naturally don't, you don't have to think about it, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's like a natural kind of thing that happens.
I'm going to get onto the songwriting in a minute because I think your songwriting is very good as well. But it's the freedom aspect that you have with the freestyle is what I'm really curious about is how do you have that level of freedom, right? And the only thing that I can keep coming back to now is this MDMA experience, right? But surely it has to be more, unless the hangover of that is unreal, because the presence of mind that you have to have in the moment to be able to see in among a crowd of people now, you can see that crowd of people in your eye line, right? To be present enough that you blur that out and only focus on what your next rhyme is, your next line is a freedom. I would imagine that's how it goes. But how do you have the basically fuck it attitude to just get up and go, do you know what, to hell with your opinions, I'm doing what I love?
So there's a few things, right? So one thing is, when you see that person there, all the hours and stuff that I've done prior to that is leading up to that moment. So I've seen myself in situations and seen how I deal with situations, and it gives you kind of a confidence in your own abilities. So you have to have a confidence in yourself. If you don't have a belief in yourself at some fundamental level, then you're never going to get going in whatever it is. You know what I mean? You kind of, like, people kind of give, like, Kanye, he comes across a bit arrogant, right? Because he's like, I'm a genius, whatever. But
love him.
Musically, for me, like, you know what I mean? He's one of the best. In terms of all around. But he says a good quote. I don't know where he said it, but it's like, if you don't cheer for yourself, then no one's gonna cheer for you. And it might be like narcissistic, or you might say whatever, but like I believe in myself and what I do. And I believe that my heart is in a good place. Like, from what I can tell, I don't have too much hatred in my heart. Like, for, like, jealousy, what used to be jealousy is now, like, kind of inspiration. You know what I mean? Whereas times maybe in the past I'd be like, you could begrudge someone, but you can actually just jealousy and inspiration are just like two sides of the same coin. You know what I mean? Because jealousy is kind of telling you like there's something that you're not happy with in yourself, and you're kind of taking it out because this other person or entity has that thing that you have, but they didn't do anything. You know what I mean? But you can get inspired instead by that. So you have to have confidence first of all, and that confidence comes from doing the thing and practicing the thing. You know what I mean? It's not like you can just start doing it, because you have to. Yeah, I'm not standing there naked as well, because I'm also putting
not physically.
No, yeah, exactly.
Not
okay.
Physically.
All right,
naked,
what I mean by that, right, is that you might, right. Let's say you don't care about anything, right? I don't care about anything, but we present ourselves in the world in a particular set of clothes with a particular vocabulary when we're talking to people. Like there's certain things that we do that are reliant on what we think other people think about us. So when I'm like freestyling and stuff, I'm not just doing it purely based on what I think is good in the moment. I'm also basing it on what I think they will think is good in the moment and what is going to bring them joy, because they're actually both one and the same.
Exactly, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think the only way to build confidence in anything is just to do the thing and practice it, and then eventually what you think is crazy, what you think someone else is doing is crazy, you can actually move towards that. I actually think everyone should busk in some way, because it's very scary the first time you do it. In a small form, put down a hat, read a poem in town. If you did that, you'd level up so much. You wouldn't even know yourself after 1 hour doing that and just reading. And because even I did a bit of like a cappella singing up in Trinity, but I never did it a cappella, and I was really scared. And this is after years of busking, and but that was a new territory, and I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna put the hat down. I was convinced myself, and then I start doing it, and then I'm just like, now I can do it anytime. If I went up there, I just put the hat down, because now I see myself do it. But before you do it, it's like scary. It's impossible, but you have to push through that, because your kind of circle of possibilities are determined by what you've already done. So you have a certain circle now where it's possible for you, and then as you move towards that, on the edges is where it's most painful and it's riskier and it's scarier, because there's room for pain. Like, oh no, like it didn't work out, people didn't like it, oh no, like whatever pain might be. Like even you with this podcast, I suppose, like when you first decided to do the podcast, that wasn't something you've done before. Like, so now you're stretching the limits of what's possible. Now you're sitting in my room, you know what I mean, after just saying, oh, would you be interested in doing an interview? You know what I mean? Like
conversation.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. It's that
what's that?
For me, do you know what it is? It was a fear thing. I've spoken about this before, because I've done sort of podcast before with two other lads, right? It's always a fear thing, but it's a fear thing because one, not everybody's going out of their way to do something that won't appeal to everybody else, and two is, if you're going to put as much effort into it, you would like to think it's not going to be bitterly hated, right? Yeah. But what if it is? And you're going, oh, can I really put something out there? But then through the course of lockdown, the one thing that was happening was I just miss having a fucking chat with somebody. Like, but something like the reason I got involved here asking you to do this is because you have something that I'm genuinely curious about. How does it? How has it came to be? You know, your attitude, all of that. I'm curious by that. So I was like, right, at this point when I'm really chomping at the bit for something new, I can make the decision to sit here and do nothing, or I can actually just go and fucking do it. And if it doesn't work, there's probably only going to be two people that hear it anyway. Yeah. Right? Because that's something. I swear to God, I don't know if you get this, right? It's a legit thing of, oh God, what if I'm an overnight sensation? Have you ever had that? Have you ever had the feeling of, God, what if I'm an overnight sensation and I can't handle it?
Yeah, and it like, I had that feeling when it's very scary feeling when it first happened to me. when I was
I
writing.
just realised how ridiculous that sounds.
No,
by
yeah,
the
no,
way.
it's very.
It
no,
is,
but like
a
it's
thing,
very
but
grandiose. Like it's very. But like when I started thinking, when I was recording the first song I did, By the Way, I'd never recorded a song before, and I was really happy with the lyrics. And it took me like 6 months to finish it, right? But during that 6 months, I was recording myself and having demos. And I remember I was lying in my bed, and I was listening to it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is I'm really enjoying." It was the first time I listened to myself and was like, I like this song. Like regardless of like if I wrote it or not, I like this song. Yeah. And I was like, what if other people like this song? And then I was like, what does happen if like now it's a very rare occurrence for something for like to reach that sort of escape velocity and become an overnight sensation. Normally an overnight sensation isn't really overnight. It seems overnight.
10
and it's not
years.
really, the point is, right, I started realizing, what am I actually doing here in this pursuit of music? What would happen if I let the genie out of the bottle? And I remember when I started, I never thought about that before, and I never thought about what my reality would be. And I remember I was in bed and I was on my hands and knees. I was like, it kind of overtook me for a bit. I was like, oh God, I don't know if I'd be ready for that at all. You know, and like, and you might think it's ridiculous to think it, but it's like, what am I trying to do by I'm gonna keep releasing music, and so it's like, you have to play with these ideas and you have to give them kind of real sort of like respect and thought, because if it's a possibility, and it has to. You have to understand when you're pursuing something what all the eventualities could be, because it kind of tells you why you're actually doing it in the first place. You know what I mean? Is that why I'm doing it? Am I doing it for the prestige of being a known singer-songwriter? Like if I didn't want anybody to hear the music, I wouldn't put them out there. You know what I mean? It'll be all in my room. But there's definitely a part of me that wants to share the music, and there's a part of me, like even when I talk to friends about specific lyrics in the song, and they say like, "Oh, that's a good lyric," and I go, "I know, like it was a good lyric," and like the amount of time I put into songwriting, and when I think of something clever, like I can't explain how good that makes me feel. Like,
I understand.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. Sometimes you just hit something and you're like,
"This is amazing."
That. I've done nothing of note for myself even. Like, I haven't done it. And then all of a sudden something comes up and you're like, you know, that's not half bad, you know. And even with the idea of doing this, and I explained this to you the other day, the reason I wanted to do this is because coming from a small town, you don't think you can ever do anything with a grander idea. You don't think you can. And then I realised that Skerries is a very talented town all across the board, whether it be in sports or music, writing, whatever it might be. It's very talented. And I thought to myself, you know what? There's nobody I see around Skerries that's speaking to these people. And if I'm looking for a way to do a podcast, and why? Well, why not let that be the reason? Because I can I can learn from these people as well, how they do what they do, why they do what they do. So why not do it? And once I had that idea, I was like, oh damn, that actually is not half bad. And taking over the world.
Yes.
One of your greatest hits. I was listening to it earlier on, and your lyrics, I want to know what your process is for the lyrics, by the way. But you have sit wasting away in a small town, never happy with the time you've spent on you. Sit facing the day in the compound, thinking I know what I'd rather do.
Yeah.
Am I right or wrong in saying that there's a similar idea in what I've just been speaking about there?
It's probably part of the same sentiment. You know, you're just that. Actually, I can even remember oh God. My first girlfriend, I remember what my bedroom looked like before I left for London. But it was just this little small box room, and I had the guitar, and there was this sense of was very nihilistic about my outlook for my future, because I actually dropped out of a master's. Just because, you know, I wasn't pulling my weight, and I finally got found out. You know what I mean? I wasn't pulling my weight for years, but now I actually got found out, and it was like, no. And then, but then I got a job then, and then that's where that kind of sentiment came about, you know. And yeah, like it's just like this kind of idea of just being a victim of circumstance in a way, and looking at it from that nihilistic lens of like, you know, this is the reality that I'm facing, and not willing to do anything about it, and because it's safer to be just like, you know, it's like all these problems like are out of my control or whatever. And there's just kind of, especially now with the world that we live in has gotten so big that, you know, our sense of value, when we, let's say if you want to do a podcast, then you're like, if I didn't compare myself against other people, in not just with music but with everything, I wouldn't have any like psychological pain, I imagine. Not that I do it a lot, but it comes up enough that it's like, why bother compare yourself with anybody? And
because it motivates you also.
It does exactly, it does. And you know, the people that you hang around with, they inspire you to do more. But there's also a sense of, you know, it makes you kind of, you can be unhappy in what you're doing. Like with music, especially, it can be, you don't want to, if you need to be doing it for, this is what I came to realize recently enough, is that it needs to be good enough to just release the music and pursue the music regardless of like what happens with it, you know what I mean? Like, because a part of me just like, I was just posting on Instagram, I was doing all this stuff to build numbers. I was like, wanted my follower count to go up. I wanted more numbers, you know what I mean? And that was just the wrong way to look at it. Instead, you know, I think the new way I'm trying to look at it, it's like hyper local impact in a way, like what you're doing. And I think that's the way to make a more vibrant community, because you'll inspire people now. Like, oh, I know him. He only lives down the road. He's in the town. Another thing that I want to do is inspire people as well, because like people have inspired me, and it's just it just has a net benefit. Like if you do something that you believe in the world, people who also had a similar inkling to, oh, I'd like to do something like that, whatever, they'll do it. Like when I started busking in Skerries, this young lad started busking, and he started busking outside the Blue Bar, and he was only 16, and I was just thinking, some balls on this lad. He was in front, and like I was so scared to do in front of the Blue Bar, but when I seen him, I was like, I'm gonna do it one day. But I haven't done it yet. But he inspired me then. You know what I mean?
I think people do genuinely appreciate people who push the envelope a little bit. I know, like, look, the Irish people might be a bit more like, fuck him, right? Like, yeah, not necessarily that strong, but a bit more begrudging in a way. And not even just the Irish people. I think people are, but I also think that there's a little soft spot for the person who goes and does it, because it shows you what you can do. Your writing process. I heard you explain that it is basically about finding the right sound or the right hook or the right chorus first. You're trying to get the sound, and then you said that it's almost like I'm just trying to find the right words, and the universe pulls it out of my subconscious. You said, right? And to me, that seemed a little bit, I'm just reaching around in the dark.
Yeah.
But then when I read what I've just read off there, I go, there's something genuine in that. That's not just reaching around in the dark here. How genuine is it?
So, yeah, like the music that I write is I can't write non-personal music. Like I was watching the Beatles, their new documentary,
So
Get
did I.
Back.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
Very
unbelievable.
Good. Yeah.
Now, like I don't know how, when I was watching Paul McCartney come up with the song Get Back, like, and that has process of just coming mumbling and stuff, and I think it's going to be great for people to see that the creative process is like pull back the mirror. It's just you need to iterate. You don't end up with the piece of gold like at this beginning. You kind of work towards that. But with songwriting, like now I have written songs that they're not directly related to a personal story or a personal issue, but I find that my brain gravitates to, oh, this is this part of my life, or this is this what this means, or this is it's easier to write about stuff if it's in your own experience in a way. And at the beginning you're looking around in the dark, because the first thing you start off with, that saying that I had, taken over the world, was actually something I was just saying like to my boss. I was like, and it was my motto. It was like an affirmation, like I'm taking over, we're going to take over the world. I was so optimistic because like I was like, he was in the furniture game, and I was like, we're going to take over the world of furniture, you know what I mean? And like, it was something that I always said, and then the song came about out of that. And the one thing that is great about songwriting versus writing normally is that you have to abide by the law of rhyming, and the more constraints you can put on something, the better. Like a genre of music is actually just a set of constraints, and constraints are actually very good because there's an infinite set of possibilities in everything, and there's an infinite way to slice the pie. But if you can constrain yourself to only doing things in a particular, like in music, it's all about constraints, but the constraints actually give rise to creativity. But one thing about rhyming that's it's like, I often think about songwriting as a crossword puzzle. So if you just have to get the first sentence out right. Once you have a little like na 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 na, I don't know what I'm gonna say, so say it. I don't want it, and then I don't know what I'm gonna say, so say it. And then it's like then I have to rhyme with say it. It's like, well, don't spray it. Maybe it's don't spray it is the next sentence. So don't say it, blah blah blah. Or maybe, and then I maybe find out that maybe the sentence starts with don't spray it, and then just say it. You know what I mean? So, no. And then the other thing is, nothing's set in stone as well. You need to just get things out. Start with one sentence, and then that sentence is it's a jumping off point. But that sentence can change. You know what I mean? Don't get too tied into it. You know what I mean? And it's just like a crossword puzzle then. I think what I'm describing is a way. It's not like piecing together like disparate parts of songs that I've created and making like a super song from them. It's more, how do I increase my output? Right. So writing the chorus is a way to increase my output, and also the songs that stick. Let's say the choruses that I like and I want to work on. It's real easy to work on a song if you like it, if you think there's something in it, if you think, oh, I like this is going to be the next one. Nearly every song I write, right, if I finish it and I feel good about it, I'm just like I can't, like I've done it. I've written a song that I'm so proud of, and I don't need to write anymore. You know what I mean? But then it kind of fades, and then you're like, oh, it just becomes a song then. You know what I mean? But I'm so optimistic about my feelings immediately finishing this when I've really finished it. And really finishing it these days takes a lot longer because I'm real nitpicky.
Who's the guy that helps you? You said you outsource to get help. Because I wondered, I was listening to your music and I went, God, he's very talented. He plays the piano, he plays everything.
No.
And then I heard you say that you have this idea of the song in your head. You couldn't do it all yourself, so you outsourced and you got somebody else involved. Who is he?
So I basically went on to Fiverr, which is a website where you can find people that do all sorts. If you're building a website, if you're doing a marketing campaign, if you're doing an image, it's all kind of professionals that are basically trying to make money with their services. And you can find music producers, you can find people that mix. So I was basically looking for somebody, because you know what I mean? If you're trying to do it all, I'm never going to have enough time in whatever form that I'm able to make music in now. It's not where it needs to be if I'm going to make songs. So I basically need to just focus in on what I can do well and use money that I'm earning through stuff that I am able to do well to funnel into the music to kind of like jump ahead in that sense. You know what I mean? So I'm not relying on my own skills. So I went out to Fiverr, started just looking at a few of the profiles who, like, I was just like full music production, looking for people that made full songs. And I came across this lad, Toby Wilson, on Fiverr, and he does such a good service. It really, really listens to you and is able to just produce, like, usually very quickly if he's not busy. And it, like, normally it's always just like, I'm just like, this is great, let's just put my vocal on it. Now there's been iterations, like we've developed kind of a better workflow, I think, but that only comes from time. But basically found this lad on Fiverr. I record the vocal. Like there's a good, I have to do a bit, right? So I, like, every song, like usually modern music, pop music, the chord structures are very simple. Like chords are just like the backing of your melody. So the melody's like la 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 la, and the chords are like bow 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 bow. Like a chord is basically just like two or more notes. Well, you could say two notes, but let's just say for the sake of argument, 3 or more notes pressed at the same time, and they kind of give harmony over your melody or under your melody, like depending on where you're looking at it. And so if you can outline the chords, because this chords just repeat for the verse. Usually some songs are just like Taking Over the World is just 3 chords repeated for the whole song. But when I send that over to him, he's able to do things with his instruments, and using just even with that knowledge, you can play chords in many different ways. You can do all sorts. But that's kind of the structure. Here are the chords. Here's the key of the song. Here's the tempo, and here's here's like the vocal. And basically from that, he can infer and put other things on it. You know what I mean? So, but the bit that I have to focus on then is getting a good vocal. And there's a great studio, Pirate Studio. I have this like head in the box thing. It's like a studio, like portable studio, you could say. It's not great though, but it was getting the job done. Like for the first like 4 songs, just a place in town though. Now that I'm using, you just bring a laptop, and so I'm learning more and more about that. But I'm at a really good place. The last song I think was the best produced song, as in had the least amount of mistakes for me, where I can actually listen to it. I can't really listen.
The Fog.
The Fog. Available
Plug
now.
it, TK. Feel or Basil, whatever you got. Feel free. Just the Fog.
The Fog. I keep forgetting. I'm not good. Like, you know what I mean.
You're not big enough to assume that. You don't feel like you're big enough to assume that I would know the Fog. I get what you're saying. Go on. Yeah.
Anyway, the Fog was my latest one, and I think I've like, it's at the place now where I think I can't wait to just keep making. The next songs are just going to benefit from, all the songs that came before. I think I've been doing this since last April, maybe, is when I finally got a full song released out into the world. So, and I've so many songs I want to record, like, you know what I mean? So it's just about getting through them, but not getting through them, because that's the wrong way to look at it. You don't want to get through things. You want to enjoy it, hopefully, you know what I mean? But
I did wonder that, actually. I was like, the guy's going for a massive output here.
Yeah.
Which is not an issue at all. Like, probably the quicker you can get some stuff out there, like the quicker you can. Do you know, I think about that. I heard you say that to Keith
must have been.
I heard you say that, and you were like, I've this many songs, and there's not enough time for me to do it all by myself. And I thought, you know what, there is a logic in that, because if you can get enough out there where you can put yourself in a position where you go, okay, I'm going to take my foot off the gas a bit, and I'm going to really hone in on 1 or 2 songs. I was like, there is a logic to that. But do you feel that he's almost like a co-star? Do you feel like he is?
I think without him, the songs aren't the songs. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, like, there's so much that goes into it. Like, I mean, I could record myself playing guitar over it, but it's not going to be that good. It'll be good enough, but it won't be like the quality that I'm able to reach now, as in just the general quality of the production. People work with producers anyway. You know what I mean? Like, Billie Eilish has her brother Phineas, who they're just a great partnership. She sings and, like, she writes, obviously, She's actually a really good writer. Like you might like Billie Eilish. You might.
I don't listen to her enough.
Yeah.
I have to be honest.
I don't listen to her, but there's one song that she has. I forget the name of it. Happier Than Ever, I think it is. But for me, I'm really open to all sorts of music. You know what I mean? And like, I can't help that. I'm like, that is a good song. A fair play to her. But she has a good flow. She actually has good lyrics. But what I'm trying to get at is, you know, everyone. There's so many, like, let's say even look back at like Neil Young or even the Beatles. That guy Billy, did you watch the whole thing?
Yeah.
He was on the piano.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was playing the piano, right? And you know, it's people get the Beatles, the album, but they didn't know Billy when they were listening to the album. He might get a credit, but no one's really looking in. There's so many people that have come through true music, like through the industry, that are just nameless people. You know what I mean? That they were playing background bass or background guitar, backing drums,
session player. Yeah.
Robbie Williams. Look at Robbie Williams, right? He sings primarily. I'm sure he has written bits and pieces here and there, but most of the songs, you know, are written by other people. Like from what I can understand, but he's unbelievable singer, unbelievable entertainer. And I don't want to discredit his songwriting abilities because I just know that there's that discrepancy with the song Angels.
Yeah.
So I haven't really dug to it. Elton John, do you
know what? He was exactly who I was thinking of 5 minutes ago, and even beyond this, you know, coming in here today, it was Bernie Taupin, I think is the guy's name, isn't it? Because I only watched Rocket Man the other night.
Yeah.
Funnily enough.
So good.
And I did think about that. I was like, I didn't ask you because I thought, right, he's doing the music for himself here. But I was like, there is a partnership between Elton John, Bernie Taupin, yourself. But then I was like, you are more of a solo writer, but you do also have a partner. So I was sort of thinking to myself, how satisfied are you with these songs when you know that you've gone to get somebody else involved in helping you to do it?